This is the first time in modern political history that the palace has had to announce the separation of the heir to the throne. But both the Prince and Princess of Wales went ahead with their engagements today.
What if everything you thought you knew about Diana and Charles was a lie? We all know King Charles and Princess Diana had 2 children, William and Harry. But what if there was a third? It wasn't until Diana's final gift arrived at Buckingham Palace, 27 years after her death, that Charles discovered the truth. So what was inside Diana's final gift? And how did it change everything Charles believed about their marriage? Let's find out. The mysterious package. On March 15, 2024, King Charles III sat in his mother's old study at Buckingham Palace, feeling the heavy weight of the crown on his shoulders. Sir Clive Alderton brought in the morning's post, but one small parcel stood out from the rest. Wrapped in faded blue paper, the calligraphy on the label made his breath catch. It was Diana's handwriting. He would know it anywhere. "Sir," Alderton said, seeing that the king suddenly looked very pale. "Leave me," Charles whispered, "and see that I'm not disturbed." Alone, Charles stared at the package. With shaking hands, he opened it to find a mahogany jewelry box bearing the Spencer family crest. Inside, attached to the lid, was a cream-colored envelope dated August 29, 1997, just 2 days before her death. The letter began, "My dearest Charles, if you are reading this, then I am gone, and you have finally learned what I always knew, that beneath all our pain and public battles, we never stopped loving each other. This box contains the truth I could never tell you while I lived. Open it when you're ready to remember who we were before the world demanded we become something else." He set the letter aside, his hands trembling as he lifted the box's lid. The scent of jasmine and roses, uniquely Diana's, filled the room, transporting him back to a time when they were together. The secret she carried alone. Concealed beneath the silk lining of the box was another message, written in a more urgent hand. It was from just hours before Diana's final trip to Paris. "Charles, I'm leaving for Paris tonight, but I had to tell you the truth before I go. The baby I lost in December 1985, it wasn't from my affair. It was yours, our third child, our daughter." The words hit Charles like a physical blow. A daughter. They had lost a daughter, and he had never known. "I couldn't tell you then. You were so distant after Harry's birth, so convinced our marriage was a mistake. I couldn't bear to trap you with another child you might resent. But I loved her, Charles. For 3 months I loved her with everything I had." He remembered that winter, Diana's retreat from public life, which he had dismissed as typical dramatics. How wrong he had been. She wasn't grieving their marriage. She was mourning their lost child. "I named her Elizabeth Rose, after your mother and my middle name. She's buried at Althorpe under a stone that simply says, 'Beloved Daughter.'" At the bottom of the box was a small velvet purse. Inside was a white gold locket he'd never seen before. On one side was a picture of them as a young, hopeful couple. On the other side, a blurry but definite ultrasound photograph of their newborn girl. As Charles held the locket, he began to cry after realizing he had a child he had never known about. The Diary of a Broken Heart. Through his tears, Charles found a thick envelope marked, "Read this last." It contained diary entries from Diana's final months. July 15, 1997. "I've been thinking about us again, Charles. Not the characters we played for the cameras, but the real us. I became so lost in my pain that I forgot my promise. I fought you when I should have fought for you. The truth is, Charles, I never stopped loving you." This wasn't the Diana the world knew. This was a woman taking responsibility, a depth Charles had never known she possessed. "I know about the letters you wrote after our separation, but never sent. Why didn't you send them, Charles? Why did we both choose pride over truth?" Charles's blood ran cold. He had written those letters, pouring out his heart, but duty and etiquette had always stopped him from sending them. August 10, 97. "I've made a decision. I'm ending things with Dodi. It was never real, just another attempt to make you jealous, to prove I could move on. But I can't move on from us, Charles. I don't want to." Charles read in shock. The love story in the news had all been fake. She had planned to come back to him. "I've been thinking about what we could be if we put aside palace protocols and public expectations. Not as the king and his divorced wife, but as Charles and Diana, two people who made mistakes but never stopped loving each other." She had even sent a letter to the Queen begging for a chance at reconciliation. The phone call that never came. August 30th, 1997, the night before. "I almost called you tonight, Charles. I picked up the phone 3 times. I wanted to tell you about my decision, about coming home, about giving us another chance. But each time, I lost my nerve. What if you've moved on? What if you don't want me back?" He vividly remembered that night. He too had been alone at Balmoral, gazing at the same phone, determined to fight for their marriage one last time. "I keep thinking about our wedding day. You took my hands and said, 'We did it, Diana. Whatever happens now, we did this together.' I felt so proud to be your wife in that moment. Tomorrow I end things with Dodi, then come home to fight for us one more time. I'm terrified you'll reject me, but I'm more terrified of never trying. I love you, Charles. I never stopped loving you. I pray it's not too late," but that tomorrow never came. The truth about Paris. Hidden deeper in the box was a final envelope marked "Emergency," for Charles only. "Charles, if something happens to me in Paris, know that this trip isn't what it appears. 3 weeks ago, someone contacted me about our daughter, Elizabeth Rose. They know about the miscarriage I never told you about. They're threatening to expose everything unless I disappear from public life permanently." Diana's final trip hadn't been about a new romance. It had been about protection. They claimed to have medical records from the clinic where I was treated after losing Elizabeth. "They want me gone. If I refuse, they'll release everything and paint you as the cruel husband who turned his back when I needed you most." Her final months had been spent shielding him, protecting the monarchy, and safeguarding their sons from a scandal that would destroy everything. "If they silence me, promise you'll remember who I truly was. Tell William and Harry their mother loved their father until the very end." Diana hadn't died chasing love. She had died defending her family. The letter he never sent. The final item was a letter in his handwriting, one he had no memory of writing until he saw it. It was a draft he had written after their divorce, but never sent, that somehow Diana got and kept to herself. "My dearest Diana, I know I have no right to ask forgiveness after how I failed you. The truth I never told you is that I was terrified of loving you as completely as I wanted to. You were so vibrant, so alive. I was afraid that if I opened my heart completely, you would see how inadequate I was. Camilla was safe. She expected nothing I couldn't give. But you deserved everything." At the bottom was a crossed-out postscript. "If you ever wanted to try again, I would spend the rest of my life proving I could be the husband you deserved the first time." A love that transcends death. As darkness fell, Charles sat surrounded by the remnants of Diana's final gift. Her jewelry box had become a time machine, showing him the man he had been, the husband he had failed to be, and the love he had lost to pride and fear. He understood now that Diana's entire final year had been a journey back to him. Every headline, every public relationship had been part of an elaborate dance while she planned to come home. As he returned the letters to the box, Charles whispered to the empty room, "I would have said yes, Diana. If you had made it home, if you had asked me to try again, I would have said yes." The words Charles had been too proud to say 27 years ago finally came out, in a room full of memories, regrets, and a love even death couldn't erase. It shows us that the most powerful love stories aren't the ones the world sees, but the ones kept hidden. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. In the meantime, do you think Charles and Diana could have found happiness together if she had made it home? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next one. Until then, bye.